Morant with a running start. Elevate! Oh, it dunks! Oh, my goodness! Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn. His heat is gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining.
Conley now with three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant! He hit it! John Morant! Insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. Today's episode may be brief. It's going to be about Jaren Jackson Jr., about Jaren being the standout of the Team USA men's basketball camp, and I'll also talk about their first exhibition game against Puerto Rico, and also look ahead to what Jaren can possibly accomplish this upcoming season. Before we get to all that, just got to tell you, this episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Try them out by clicking the link in this episode's description or by using that promo code FBBF. When you sign up with that promo code FBBF, Underdog will double your opening deposit up to $100. Okay, to some degree, Jaren Jackson Jr. has been the star of Team USA training camp. Some of that makes sense. He's one of only 3 reigning All-Stars to be on this version of Team USA. He's the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. He's the obvious choice for that roster at starting center, so you would expect him to be a focal point of attention. But I think there was a little bit of a splash when The Athletic released this article by Joe Vardon where they did a straw poll saying who is the most dominant player or who is the best player at the Team USA minicamp, and Jaren won this informal poll. Again, Joe Vardon asked every player, all 12 players, who is the best player, and you could say whoever you wanted, or you could say as many players as you wanted. But Jaren got the most votes, and so we as Grizzlies fans are all ecstatic and excited and exuberant for our dominant young big Jaren Jackson Jr. And it's a nice thing to be named the best player by the fellow players, but it obviously means very little when it comes to winning basketball games. It's better than not being mentioned. But I think most of us are like, all right, so what's going to be different? Let's watch him play. What will be different in his game? And if you watched the exhibition on Monday night against Puerto Rico, yeah, Jaren looked nice. Blocked some shots. Got a couple of dunks off nice 2-man game, slip into the basket. Got a rebound put back. Picked up, 7 rebounds, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks. Did he look a little bit bigger? I mean, that's always the question. Is he thicker? Are his legs thicker? This was a conversation in the Fast Break Breakfast Slack channel. Maybe. Did he have tough opposition? No. Puerto Rico didn't have any bigs, and they didn't have any NBA caliber bigs. They only had one guy with NBA experience in Tremont Waters. So Jaren looked fine. But we could be excited that he's going to continue his growth as a young player. And we wonder, what can he show this coming season? I mean, my thing about the Team USA camp, it's not that he's being named the most dominant player. My thing for Team USA is this is tampering season. This is networking. This is recruiting other young, good NBA players to your situation. Now, I do get excited when I hear the other players saying he's dominant and good, not because of just the basketball ability, more so because, hey, if he's one of the leaders of this team, maybe he's the one doing the recruiting as opposed to being recruited. Maybe he'll get some of these other young stars in a few years to team up down in Memphis. That would certainly be cool. As far as what we saw again in that game, we saw some good moments, but we also saw some typical Jaren things. He got in foul trouble, and that's going to be one of the questions about FIBA play. You only get 5 fouls in international basketball, and we saw kind of the Jaren special, or maybe that's not fair. All right, the Jaren special, let's say a good thing, getting a block and then hitting a trailing three-pointer right after, that's a Jaren special. The Jaren unspecial, if you will, is committing a turnover and then fouling immediately after 60 feet from your basket. We saw him do that at the start of the third quarter, and so Jaren's playing time was artificially limited or legitimately limited by picking up foul trouble. They subbed in Paolo Banchero right after Jaren picked up that third foul. So I think a lot of our hopes for Jaren this upcoming season are, can we continue to lower those fouls? So a promising first start for Jaren. We're excited that the players informally picked him as the best player for the Team USA mini camp. But like, what do we hope Jaren can be this upcoming year? Like, what are some benchmarks we're going to give him? I mean, sure, there's like arbitrary scoring numbers. Like he averaged 18.6 points per game last year. I think we all hope, all right, let's do 20 points per game. I mean, don't forget, after the All-Star break last year, he averaged 22 points per game. The final 13 games, I believe it was 25.5 points per game. So, yeah, that's scoring. It's going to keep going up. We think just with his natural mismatches he creates, with his improved post moves, with the foul drawing that he's gotten better and better at. Actually, Jalen Brunson complimented the way Jaren had been able to get to the line in the Team USA scrimmages. So with the combination of Jaren's improved post moves, him beating bigger players off the dribble, and then you package that with what we hope is reduced fouling of his own, so he can play a few more minutes, or maybe just like 2 more minutes per game, you think Jaren's scoring could skyrocket. Like if he continued what he did after the All-Star break, that 22 points per game, I don't think that's unreasonable. I think like I'd put maybe the over-under like 20.5 points per game or something, which is a solid, again, like a solid almost full 2 points per game improvement. I'm not going to be surprised by that whatsoever as Jaren goes into year 6. I also think beyond wanting him to continue to reduce his fouling, I mean, his fouls per play, they were down last year. Like it actually was his career best. So like it's trending in the right way, but still he fouls more than basically almost anyone else in the NBA. So he has to continue to work on that. He also needs to continue to work on, I think, passing, just being able to read a double team, know about making the extra pass, the next pass, finding his shooters in the corner. Like Jaren is a not gifted passer whatsoever. And I think like that would be my focus. Like we're not asking him to be a creator. We don't need him to get 4 assists per game, but like 2 might be good. Or making the defense get punished when they send an extra help defender. Like Jaren needs that. So if I'm doing a hierarchy of things I want from Jaren, I think the offense is going to take care of itself. I think, yes, I want to continue to see him develop there. Maybe let's focus on the team giving him the ball more, finding him when he seals his defender, when he posts up, maybe doing some of the stuff they did in the first Team USA exhibition where some more dribble handoffs where he is involved as the screener, a little 2-man game, little action with Desmond Bane and Marcus Smart earlier in the year. That could be pretty cool. But like I think Jaren's offense is on the proper trajectory. If he can continue to make a modest amount of 3-pointers, like he can't dip any lower than that 3-point percentage he shot last year. I don't want another season where it's down to like 32%. No, 35%. Let's make that the bare minimum. And I think all that's going to take care of itself. And then if you add in continue to reduce fouling, continue to hopefully or develop a little bit more of a passing repertoire, being prepared, being able to see the court, make smart, quick decisions. That in turn might cause the turnovers to be reduced. Because right now when he drives, help defenders know I just need to set up for a charge because he's not going to burn me with an assist. So if Jaren can add that playmaking, that'll be something great to see. I do think a concern is, though, early in the season, like Jaren's scoring, I assume, is going to be up just on volume, but will the efficiency be down? Because one question mark for the Grizzlies while Ja Morant is out is who's going to pick up the scoring slack and the creation slack, and also is it going to make it a lot easier for the opposing teams to game plan for the Grizzlies? Because frankly, with our projected starting lineup, even if we don't know who the fifth player is going to be on opening night, there are only 2 offensive threats. Like when the other defense only has to worry about 2 players on offense, like Jaren and Desmond, that's it. Steven Adams and Marcus Smart are not going to kill you offensively. And whichever player the coaching staff picks to be that 5th starter, not going to kill you. Like even if they go with the offensive route and pick Luke Kennard, not going to hurt you. I mean, yes, he's going to make 3-pointers, but you're not going to worry about 3 out of the 5 players on the court. Like, even if Kennard plays a bunch of minutes, or if Roddy, or if they go with Zaire or Laravia, none of those guys are going to regularly score 18 points in a game. So you're only going to have 2 main offensive things to worry about if you're the opposing team in Bane and Jaren. And volume-wise, yeah, they might average 25 points per game, but if the efficiency is down, will that be a struggle for the team? Like, I could see something where, Jaren averages 22 points per game. Like this might go under my deepest fears. Like Jaren averages 22 points per game and like 8 rebounds and 2 blocks, and Desmond Bane averages 22, 23 points per game and 5 assists, 5 rebounds. And guess what? Those are the exact averages that Kristaps Porzingis and Bradley Beal had last year on a Wizards team that stunk. Now, obviously, I don't think the Grizzlies are going to stink. I think their infrastructure's too good. I think Desmond Bane is better than Bradley Beal right now. I think Jaren, with his defensive impact, probably a better player than Kristaps Porzingis. That's not a hot take. But I don't worry about the Grizzlies stinking. But I do worry that in the 25 games Ja's out, might be a little bit of a struggle. And then do they end up with like mid-40s wins instead of getting over 50 or high 40s? And is it because they're easier to defend because they have too many guys in the rotation who are not offensive threats? That is a concern. And also, of course, Marcus Smart is only going to probably give you 60 or 65 games. And can he pick up the slack of replacing regular season contributions of Tyus Jones and Dylan Brooks? And actually, Jaren commented to Tim Bontemps from ESPN is reporting these quotes from the Team USA minicamp, where Jaren talks about those 25 games without Ja to start the season. He said it's going to be a tough thing to navigate. He says, quote, "We know that not having Ja is a real big hole to fill," end quote. He did say that Ja is, although he's not going to be with the team, he's still going to be around the team. So even though he's not like with the guys at the facility, he's going to be nearby. The quote Jaren said was, quote, "is going to give us all the tools." Ja is, quote, "going to give us all the tools to be able to get that done." That is, navigate the time without him. Jaren also said that he was extremely happy for Desmond Bane signing the massive extension. Jaren called that a boatload of money. And Jaren also said that he has texted with Marcus Smart and said that Smart is a great addition. He says, quote, "It's great to have someone like that who can play both ends, who's been in a championship environment. We know what he brings to a team, that passion, that heart, and he knows a lot about the game as well. His mind is going to be working great for the locker room," end quote. So we can be excited about these back-to-back Defensive Players of the Year teaming up on the Grizzlies. And we can be thrilled. Jaren Jackson Jr., most dominant player at Team USA camp. Can he continue that momentum into the FIBA World Cup, into a successful Grizzlies campaign next year? Can he make a huge leap and go to like 23, 24 points per game? It would be a little surprising, but it also, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. I think there's a very significant chance that Jaren averages closer to that post-All-Star game number of 22 points per game. Like already, I think about Jaren, I've always done this historical comps of comparing him between like Kevin Garnett, one of the greatest power forwards of all time, and also Chris Bosh, who made like 10 All-Star games. Their games are not that similar, but I think their paths to the NBA are very similar. One reason I've always compared them is they both started the NBA at a very young age, and their ages and seasons match up when you look at Basketball Reference. And there's a lot of similarities. Of course, there's differences, not just the eras, but the way they played. While Jaren is a better defender than Bosh probably more of a gifted offensive player. But like I do compare these like per possession scoring. Like Bosh only had a couple of seasons where he scored more points per possession than Jaren scored last year. We think about Jaren's numbers maybe being not that high. We're like, 18.6 points per game. But of course, his minutes are low. Some of that is the team chooses to not play him that many minutes. Some of it, of course, is the foul trouble. Like Jaren last year scored more points per possession than Kevin Garnett did in every season except one. So Jaren's scoring at this, like if you take it back to the early 2000s or even back to the 90s, he'd be playing probably 34 minutes per game, 35 minutes per game. Thus, he'd be scoring 22 points per game already instead of 18.6. But I look at like Bosh and Garnett, and those guys came into their own as dominant players a little earlier. By their third season, by like the time they were 20, 21, they were already making All-Star games. Jaren, made his first All-Star game last year. And if you think back, we didn't even totally expect that. I mean, I was surprised when he was named an All-Star reserve last year. I think a lot of people were. When people were, even Grizzlies podcasters, Grizzlies fans were naming, hey, here's the 12 guys I have making the All-Star game in the West. Not many of us were picking Jaren. Like, I did not. He wasn't in my 12 guys, but I picked 7 reserves. Because like, all right, these are the 5 starters. Zion's going to get voted in again. But we only have 7 reserves. You only got spots for, like a maximum of 5 forwards or bigs. A lot of times Jaren wasn't making it. So like Bosh and Garnett developed a little bit, I think, earlier as far as becoming those dominant, widely recognized all-star players. And I do think Jaren still maybe has another gear that he can step up into. And that's something we're all obviously pulling for. If you want to watch more of these Team USA exhibitions, they're all on Fox Sports 1 or Fox. The next one is Saturday against Slovenia. Then they play, Germany and Greece and maybe Spain. A bunch of exhibition games. Most of those are midday, and I'm watching most of those over in my playback room. I know several of you joined the playback on Monday night, but definitely check that out if you want to watch the games with me. You have to log in with your TV provider to be able to watch the game if it's on Fox or Fox Sports 1. But if you do have access to Fox Sports 1, definitely log in and you can join the game with me. Or if you're watching it on some pirated feed, you can go ahead and join me in playback and still hear my commentary and my reactions and ask any questions you might have in the chat. So check out playback.tv/fastbreakbreakfast. And that is all for today. Not a ton to talk about. Not a lot of Grizzlies news. The schedule gets released within the next, I didn't check this, but I want to say probably in a week or so, the NBA schedule will be coming out. That's pretty typical. Grizzlies fans in the Southeast region, check out the Grizzlies Caravan. That information just dropped about they'll be coming to like Huntsville and Nashville and Jackson. So you can check that out at grizzlies.com. Anyways, if you want to support this program, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. Also, try out that Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code FBBF. All right, hope you guys have a great Tuesday. I will talk to you soon. Go Grizz.